Shri Rajmohan Gandhi has just delivered the 23rd Lal Bahadur Shastri Memorial Lecture at the National Museum, New Delhi. He spoke on society, the state and democratic rights, questions before the people of India. It was a brilliant lecture. CFTV News presents you the entire lecture.
Anilji, I thank you for inviting me to deliver this lecture. I deem it a high honor. Sunilji, I thank you for your gracious welcome. I thank all those associated with Anilji, Sunilji, the other younger generation, also others who are not in the family but associated in working to build on the Lal Bahadur Shastri legacy, which is precious for India. Everyone knows that Lal Bahadur Shastri led the 1965 war with calm confidence. Immediately thereafter, he made path-breaking peace with cool courage. Before that, in 1964, India faced the question, what happens when a much-loved charismatic leader leaves the scene? After Nehru, what? To this, Lal Bahadur Shastri gave an answer that surprised the world. He showed that even an enormous vacuum can be filled by a clear conscience, an intimate understanding of India's economy and society, total dedication, the talent to get work out of a diverse team, and faith in the people of India. As Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri announced no gimmicks. He needed no theatrics because his life possessed an arresting drama. The drama of the triumph of patience over panic, of decency over greed, of inclusion over exclusion. He needed no monopoly over the media because straightforwardness was his style and common sense was his strategy. He required no trickery and did not have to supply contradictory explanations for his policies. Perhaps his greatest strength was that he listened to the Indian people instead of talking at them. Allow me to offer a personal recollection from early 1965. This was before the war that year with Pakistan, and of course well before Tashkent. Obtaining an appointment for a daytime hour, I showed up at the lawns of his residence, where you took me just now. By the way, this memorial, which also contains a museum, is something that those of you who have not seen must see. And anybody who comes to Delhi must see it. So I had an appointment. I showed up at the lawns of his residence. It was winter time, and the Prime Minister was receiving callers under the sun, in the open. While he listened to someone, others waited for their turn. There was no screen blocking the Prime Minister from those waiting to meet him. As his conversation with those ahead of me extended beyond the time that was given to me, I did something I should not have done. I fidgeted. Although Shastri Ji was several yards away and absorbed with callers, he noticed my restiveness and he signaled that my turn would come. There was no need for him to notice my impatience or send a signal of assurance to me. But Lal Bahadur Shastri was a sensitive Prime Minister, sensitive to the feelings of fellow citizens, sensitive even to the reaction of a 29-year-old who should have conducted himself more maturely. Is it any wonder that the people of India found in him a Prime Minister attentive to their situation? If I may quote what my brother Shri Gopal Krishna Gandhi said in Delhi in October, Shastri Ji rose sky high in dignity because he never trampled on the dignity of his fellows. Wanting no one to feel small, he towered over India. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Lal Bahadur Shastri did not merely share a birthday. Well, they seem to have shared at least a house, at least the families did. And now Sunilji and Anilji and I, we are here together. I think there is something special here. They shared a vision for India. They saw an India for all, of all, made by all. An India where the small person is as important as the big man, where the man with a lathi, gun, or bomb cannot silence a person who carries no weapon and who may be physically weak. They helped build an India where the state would protect everyone's liberty of thought, expression, and belief. They saw an India where Hindus and Muslims and other communities have equal rights, where different communities love each other if possible, respect each other if possible, forgive each other if possible. If love, respect, and forgiveness are difficult, at least in the vision of Gandhi and Shastri, they coexist peacefully with each other, accept each other's freedom of thought and belief. The India of 2017 is very different from the India of the Shastri Prime Ministership. In the 1960s, people thinking of nationalism, communalism, secularism were inclined to place nationalism and its respectable twin, patriotism, along with secularism in one political column. Communalism of any variety, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, was placed in the opposite column, where imperialism too was located. Communalism and imperialism gave each other company. 50 years later, some connect patriotism to Hindu majoritarianism and try to send secularism to an opposite box, painting that box as anti-national. This change has come about for national and global reasons. The claim by a succession of terrorists around the world that their acts are for the glory of Islam has allowed people everywhere, including in India, to link Muslims to terrorism. The daily practice of peace and goodwill by the vast majority of the world's Muslims, by the vast majority of India's 200 million Muslims, does not make headlines. That reality is ignored. That some deadly terrorists have Hindu or Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Sikh, or Marxist connections gets known to some, but that fact is rarely tweeted or highlighted. That fact too is ignored. A bomb blast or a suicide attack by a Muslim name has become a staple of news we feed on. It drives prejudice deeper into the minds of those who fail to separate the acts of a few from the lives of the many. Also contributing to this change in reactions is the zeal of communal forces, whether Muslim, Hindu, or Sikh. While opposing their goal, we should frankly acknowledge their dedication. Secular, liberal, and Gandhian circles have not shown in adequate numbers a similar commitment. Moreover, anger is often easier than peacemaking. It is easy to play on religious sentiments. Easy also to mix love for one's religion and one's community with dislike for another religion and its adherents. And it has never been hard in history to find another community to blame for our problems. Passion for secularism and pluralism, on the other hand, is harder to sustain. From a news angle, educating underprivileged children, striving for Dalit or Adivasi rights, promoting a deeper understanding between Hindu and Muslim neighbors is less catchy than burning a shop or a home in the name of protecting the cow or saving our daughters from love jihad. Indoctrination by communal groups began well before independence and has continued after independence in both India and Pakistan. In both countries, this indoctrination, cultural, political, ideological, has been attempted through schools, through madrasas and Shishu Vidyalayas, through the vernacular media, through pamphleteering, whispering campaigns, through television, radio, and social media. Real incidents, half-truths, and pure concoctions have been employed for a takeover in the realm of ideas. Decades ago, from the 1930s until his death in 1988, the great Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan was painted by Muslim extremists in the Northwest Frontier Province and elsewhere on the subcontinent as a Hindu in Muslim clothing, as an agent of India and Afghanistan. Despite that, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and his Khudai Khidmatgars are honored today by a great many Pakistanis. His legacy remains a powerful antidote to the ideology of radical Islam. Scores of his followers have paid the ultimate price for refusing to believe in the two-nation theory or for refusing to embrace a twisted version of Islam. But, oh God, what damage was done to the frontier province and to all of Pakistan by the unrelenting whispering campaign against Badshah Khan, against his Khudai Khidmatgars, and against his honest ideology. Of that vicious campaign, there has been a deadly counterpart in India. I speak of the sustained, usually clandestine, whispering, malicious campaign against Lal Bahadur Shastri's great friend and predecessor as Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. Don't you know that Jawaharlal's father, Motilal Nehru, was born to a Muslim Kotwal in Delhi, who to save himself in 1857 changed his identity to that of a Hindu? Don't you know that Jawaharlal's son-in-law, Indira's husband, Firoz Gandhi, was in reality Firoz Khan? Don't you know that Mahatma Gandhi adopted Firoz, gave him the Gandhi surname and a non-Muslim identity in order to install the Nehru dynasty? These falsehoods have been uttered so often and in so many places that only one explanation is possible. There was a determined, well thought out, well financed and well executed plan to plant these falsehoods in the Indian mind. A simple and quick exercise, 10 seconds with Google, will confirm how effective this malicious plan has been. It is an earlier South Asian counterpart of a more recent, successful and profitable American scheme. Let us sell to America the lie that Barack Obama was a Muslim born outside the United States. A great many gullible Americans bought that lie, just as a great many unthinking Indians have bought planted lies about Jawaharlal Nehru. Then there is the knowing doublespeak over the meaning of the noble word Hindu. Oh, Hindu only means, one audience is told, someone, anyone from the land of the river Sindhu or Indus. Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Parsis are all Hindus. Another audience, however, is given a different meaning, a belligerent one. For that audience, a true Hindu is the avenging son of insulted Mother India. A true Hindu takes on wicked Muslims. He takes on wicked Christians. But to checkmate Muslims, he may also make a tactical alliance with Christians and with Israel. A twisted meaning is also given to patriotism. Suggests that government equals country. A ruling party or a leader equals the motherland. Make it easy to call any critic of the government of India a Pakistani. We should remember a few facts. The two-nation theory was pushed by the Hindu Mahasabha well before 1940, which is when the Muslim League passed its Lahore resolution for Pakistan. After partition, Muslim fundamentalists pushed their polarizing agenda in Pakistan, and Hindu extremists did the same in India. In Pakistan, all institutions were and are targeted. Schools, colleges, universities, media, courts, even the army. Today's scholars will tell you that if an army commander in Pakistan orders units to act against extremists, disobeying middle and junior ranks may at times refuse and may get away with their refusal. The killing in 2014 in that Peshawar school, the school for the children of army officers, produced a reaction. Strong measures were thereafter taken against selected extremist groups, not against all extremist groups. Penetration by radical Islamists of every institution in Pakistan goes forward, bringing great anxiety every day to Pakistani women and men, and daily concern across the border to India's citizens and India's security forces. Pakistan has changed after Tashkent. Radicalism and fundamentalism have made major gains and seized footholds, if not control, in crucial institutions. Yet Lal Bahadur Shastri, who knew how to fight a war and who knew how to make peace, would want us to continue to befriend the people of Pakistan, even when powerful elements of the establishment of Pakistan have abandoned the ways of cooperation. The people of Pakistan are not India's enemies. They have shown great resilience, often bravery, in enduring decades of hardship, years of military rule, continuing fundamentalist pressure, threats to vulnerable groups, and attacks on the freedom of belief and expression. Indian counterparts of Pakistani extremists have also been active for long. In the last 2.5 years, they have become bolder and more ambitious. Why not a Hindu Rashtra in India, they ask? Why continue to tolerate this liberal, Congresi, Gandhian, Marxian, Shastrian, Nehruvian, Ambedkarite notion that India belongs equally to all? These elements generously concede that minorities, including Muslims and Christians, can stay in India, provided they call themselves Hindu, accept their inferior status, accept also the superior status of Hindus. No protests will be allowed, they warn us, when bullies carrying the banner of Hindu belief and Hindu customs coerce, punish, or even kill someone suspected of defying those beliefs or customs. Crucially and tragically, the state frequently appears reluctant to intervene when, acting in the name of society and popular sentiment, bullies implement their zabardasti. The final aim of this zabardasti, a coercion to which our state often turns a blind eye, is to compel everyone in India, colleges, universities, the media, even police departments, even courts of law, even the armed services, to accept that in their core they are Hindu rather than Indian, and that the non-Hindus cannot have equal rights. Long ago, 87 years ago in fact, Gandhi warned that acceptance of Zabardasti would be a disaster for India because it would strike at the most vulnerable, the millions of India's disabled. In 1931, he wrote, "We cannot win Swaraj for our famishing millions, for our deaf and dumb, for our lame and crippled by the way of the sword. If the practice of seeking justice through murders is established amongst us, we shall start murdering one another for what we believe to be justice. In a land of crores of destitutes and crippled persons, this will be a terrifying situation." Unquote. The open or quiet support offered today to Zabardasti aims to replicate in India the success that extremism has achieved in Pakistan. However, despite the boosts it has received, Zabardasti is not likely to win in India. India's spirit rebels against it. Diversity remains a celebrated norm in India. So does tolerance. And pride in India's secular constitution continues to be strong. As a practical matter, who would welcome the tensions that will rise in every corner of India if steps are taken towards making India a Hindu state? Global realities will also work against such steps. The people of the world will see attempts to create in India a Hindu Rashtra, not as an answer to radical Islam, but as an open encouragement of it. Moreover, moves in India towards a Hindu Rashtra will cause difficulties to millions of Indians living in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, Malaysia, Mauritius, Fiji, countries of Africa, elsewhere, including in the Caribbean. The line that a patriotic Indian must regard his or her country as both homeland and holy land appeals to many. But of course, the true aim behind such a formulation is to make life difficult for Muslims and Christians. The formulation becomes a problem for Hindus also. Millions of Hindus live outside India as nationals of other countries. Insistence that they should regard the United States, Australia, or England as their holy land would impose great conflict on them. We know in any case that most Indians making sacred pilgrimages outside India to places such as Mansarovar, Kailash, Nankana Sahib, Jerusalem, Nazareth, Makkah, Medina, Najaf, Karbala return home as better citizens. When communalists order us on how we should respect our national flag and national anthem, we should hear alarm bells. A show of zeal for the flag and the anthem becomes suspicious when joined to a dislike for sections of our country's population, and to an effort to push Muslims and Christians to second-class status. Muslim extremists in Pakistan do not impress when they inspect their country's Hindus and Christians to see how swiftly they rise when Pakistan's national anthem is sung. We want Pakistanis to become agitated when Hindus and Christians are persecuted in their land. Hindu extremists, focusing on how India's minorities respond to India's anthem, should likewise be told, please stand up for the rights of your compatriots, India's Muslims and Christians. Hindu unity is an excellent goal. So is Muslim unity, Sikh unity, Christian unity. Yet we must ask, why exclude large sections from your unity and equality call? I say to Hindu extremists, I welcome the overdue recognition by some of you that all Hindus should feel equal. But I wait also for you to accept that Muslims and Christians are fellow citizens with equal rights. The late L.P. Singh, ICS, who died in 1998, served as Home Secretary and Governor of several states, and before that he served on Prime Minister Shastri's staff. In his valuable study of the Shastri Prime Ministership, L.P. Singh underlines Shastri Ji's complete accord with Gandhi's insights on relationships between the communities living in India and South Asia. The lines I will now read to you, written by Gandhi 107 years ago, would have been wholeheartedly endorsed by Lal Bahadur Shastri. Quote, India cannot cease to be one nation because people belonging to different religions live in it. Those who are conscious of the spirit of nationality do not interfere with one another's religion, continues Gandhi. If the Hindus believe that India should be peopled only by Hindus, they are living in dreamland. Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, who have made India their country are fellow countrymen, and they will have to live in unity, if only for their own interest. He continues, in no part of the world are one nationality and one religion synonymous terms, nor has it ever been so in India. Each party recognized that mutual fighting was suicidal, that neither party would abandon its religion by force of arms. Both parties, therefore, decided to live in peace. Continues Gandhi, is the God of the Muslim different from the God of the Hindu? There are deadly proverbs as between the followers of Shiva and those of Vishnu, yet nobody suggests that these two do not belong to the same nation. It is said that the Vedic religion is different from Jainism, but the followers of the different faiths are not different nations. Those who do not wish to misunderstand things may read up the Quran, and they will find therein hundreds of passages acceptable to the Hindus, and the Bhagavad Gita contains passages to which not a single Muslim can take exception. Continues, am I to dislike a Muslim because there are passages in the Quran I do not understand or like? It takes two to make a quarrel. We should be ashamed to take our quarrels to the English, unquote. You will agree that this long quote from 1909 is relevant today, and not for India alone. With those sentences, Gandhi demolished the two-nation theory years before it was put forward. 28 years before the Hindu Mahasabha articulated it, 31 years before Jinnah advocated it. Yet that theory continues to attract some minds. A twin of this two-nation theory is the view that the Muslim world must clash with the Western world. However, Gandhi's India, Shastri's India, the India of Ashok and Akbar, of Nanak and Kabir, of Valluvar, Tukaram, Tagore, of Nehru, Patel, Subhash, Azad, Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh, this India knows that the followers of different faiths are not different nations or enemies across the world. The view that India's Hindus and Muslims and India's Hindus and Christians are locked in a permanent clash is a threat to peace and security in every corner of India. It is a recipe for unending conflict. Coping with that threat and its consequences is not going to be easy, for polarization and ghettoization are realities in today's India, and pessimism has entered many minds. 3 years ago, A man close to the Pakistani power center told me in Lahore that the state there in Pakistan was willing to confront its extremists operationally but not ideologically. It would oppose terrorism and violence but not the ideology of radical Islam. No wonder radical Islam continues to flourish there. Pakistan's example should prod us in India to confront extremism here, whatever its color or religion, both ideologically and operationally. Two things must be uncompromisingly rejected by society and the state. One is the idea that because of its size or supposed superiority, one religious group should get the upper hand over other groups. The other is the idea that people can or should be compelled to alter their beliefs. To its great detriment, Pakistan has at times surrendered to one or both of these notions. It is a mistake the people of India must never make. India cannot accept coercion or zabardasti by anyone in any direction. Rejection of inequality and coercion is the cornerstone of the philosophy with which we must confront the ideologies of racial, religious, or caste supremacy. We must also frontally reject the idea that one or two individuals may be above the requirements of democracy, that India will flourish under one person's strong rule, free from the scrutiny or advice of ministerial colleagues, parliament, the media, and the judiciary. We must reject that idea even if a ruler asks for special powers in the name of the poor and the honest. We must be clear on what we cannot accept. We must be clear on what we are for. The legacy of Gandhi and Shastri gives us the core principle of manavta or insaniyat, the recognition that at bottom human beings, whatever their external labels, have the same needs, the same hopes, the same anxieties. Humanity is one. Insaniyat is a quality cherished by the great majority of Indians, nationalists, patriots, secularists, liberals, Marxists, all. But insaniyat needs a practical component. This practical component is think of your next door neighbor. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we say, humanity is one family, a noble thought. But Lal Bahadur Shastri, creator of the inspired concept Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, would tell us that we also need a more down-to-earth principle. Care for the next door neighbor is such a rule. How can India be happy, united, or strong if neighbors do not care for one another? If communities do not bother about neighboring communities? If states don't bother about neighboring states? Karnataka and Tamil Nadu do not show concern for each other, and Punjab and Haryana likewise. Concern for the neighbor reduces love of country to love of countrymen and countrywomen. At its highest, it asks us to think especially of our neediest neighbors and compatriots. Today, Shastri would say, I believe, Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, and Jai Insan. Especially Jai Tumhare Bagal Wala Insan. Remember Gandhi's famous talisman offered in August 1947, the month of independence? If you are in a dilemma on the next step to take, he said, think of how your step would affect the neediest person you have known. Then your dilemma, your self-concern would vanish. We may not be able always to go that far, but promoting mutual care for one another, neighbor to neighbor, is a practical and powerful component of the ideology of insaniyat, an ideology which will stand up to and, God willing, defeat the ideology of polarization, hate, and authoritarianism. Love of country is demonstrated not when you demand that your neighbor rises instantly to his full height when the anthem is played. It is demonstrated when you encourage citizens to care for one another, when you get the government to protect the people, all the people, none excluded. The highest patriotism, Lal Bahadur Shastri would tell us, is to unite your people, to heal wounds, to build bridges, to inspire people to be mutually caring. I've been a student of history. Looking at our country's story, whether in a remote or recent past, whether in old undivided Punjab or in southern India, I have found that in general, we the people of India have opinions about our neighbors, at times sharply negative opinions, but we have no knowledge about our neighbors. For leaders and persons of influence, their task in the present challenging situation is demanding but not complicated. They must go to the Indian people and listen to them. Clever politicians know what to say to the people. But democracy demands that a leader listens, learns, takes questions, and answers them. When the people are polarized, then the people too must take to listening to one another, to neighbors of another community or another persuasion, so that knowledge is gained and opinions are corrected. I think I can hear Lal Bahadur Shastri saying to today's politicians, go to the people, listen to them, take instructions from them. They are your masters. If they are angry with you or with their neighbors, talking out freely to you will help them overcome their angers and disappointments. Leaders too must be spoken to, Shastri would tell us. The Indian people are citizens of a republic, not subjects of a monarch. Government leaders must be warned against sheltering intimidators and vigilante groups. Central to insaniyat is individual liberty. As long as I'm not acting violently, as long as I'm not inciting hate between communities, I must have the full freedom to express my views, advocate my views in words, in song, in plays, in films, on the media. Without liberty, there is no creativity. Without creativity, life is a skeleton. Without liberty and creativity, society is a spiritless heap of bones and flesh. This mass may march in formation. It may shout slogans in unison, but it will be soulless. It will be a machine. India's people may seem chaotic at times, yet their freedom to sing and dance their own disorderly course forward is what gives India its standing in the world. Poems, songs, novels, literary weapons will always be with insaniyat, not with zabardasti. But we must be realistic. We must be alert to signs that warn servants of insaniyat to be ready for risk, even for serious risk. At least in our thoughts and prayers, every single Indian, no matter how poor, no matter how strong, no matter how ill or handicapped, must be our concern, but we cannot limit ourselves to India. Insaniyat asks India to enter the story of our world. Our consciences demand this, and great sons and daughters in our past declare that India has a world mission. I saw in that memorial the wonderful statement by Lal Bahadur Ji, कि हमें दुनिया को कुछ देना होगा. Yet in recent years, how silent India has become on the world stage. Even the great continuing suffering of Syria does not catch the attention of India's state or India's society. Asking us today to say Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan and Jai Insan, Lal Bahadur Shastri would perhaps add, दुनिया के छिपे हुए कोनों का हर इंसान उसकी जय होनी चाहिए. Listen to what Gandhi said 2 years before independence. I feel in the innermost recesses of my heart that the world, sick unto death of blood spilling, is seeking a way out. And I flatter myself with the belief that perhaps it will be the privilege of the ancient land of India to show that way out to the hungering world. 18 days before he was killed, Gandhi said, the loss of her soul by India will mean the loss of the hope of the aching, storm-tossed and hungry world. At a time when the whole world is witnessing a growing suspicion of the neighbor, reversing positive trends seen from the end of World War II, the people of India cannot afford to lose their soul. May they move, God willing, towards insaniyat, care for the neighbor, greater individual liberty, justice for the vulnerable, reconciliation and partnership among all everywhere. I will conclude with another sentence from Gandhi. Society is made up of individuals. If one man takes the initiative, others will follow and one becomes many. If there is not even one, there is nothing. May some take the initiative. Thank you.